Welcome back. Before we get going into the nitty-gritty of selling on Amazon, I just want to make sure you're right for this business. Because if you don't have the right mindset and you aren't prepared, your chances of success are going to go way down. The way you're approaching this business is super important. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is something that's you've got to build upon and grow slowly. Now, the more money you have, the more resources you have, you might be able to accelerate that path. But the key here is slow, sustained growth. And don't get overly greedy. Don't get overly eager. You've got to pace yourself on this, and you've got to be determined to do it. The number one thing I see that just drives me crazy is people they find out about selling on Amazon, and then they never take action. They just go from one course to the next course. Maybe this is you. To the next course, to the next video. They just don't pull that trigger. They're just I'm afraid to pull the trigger. What if I lose my life savings? What if I lose this? What if it doesn't work? I'm not sure that I really have the confidence. You need to overcome those things and know that you can do this. I mean, I've seen people that, stay-at-home moms that have done this. I've seen people that are successful lawyers and business people do this. I've seen people that have never owned a business in their life and don't even know what a balance sheet is that have been successful at this. So it's all in your mind. So just know that by doing this Freedom Ticket course and by having the tools of Helium 10, you're going to have some of the best actual resources and information possible to give yourself a chance for great success. So just remember, selling on Amazon is real work. This is not passive income. Despite what you may see, this is not get rich, throw something on Amazon, go sit on the beach and watch the cash register ring and not have to do another day of work. This is real work. And it takes, in some cases in the beginning, you're wearing a lot of different hats. You're learning things about supply chain. You're learning things about marketing. You're learning things about image creation. You're learning things about things that you never thought you'd be learning about when you were in school. But those are important to know, important to master at least the fundamentals. You don't got to be an expert in all those. There's experts out there that can really help you. But mastering those fundamentals is super, super important. And that's what we're going to do here in this course. It really helps if you have an entrepreneur mindset. The entrepreneur mindset is someone that's willing to take chances, someone that's willing to take risks, someone that's willing to put it all on the line, put in the hours. This is not, you might be been working a 9-to-5, 40-hour-a-week job. The entrepreneur doesn't quit his 40-hour-a-week job to work a 20-hour-a-week job. They quit their job to work at 80 hours a week. So you need to decide, is this right for you? And there's something that I always preach about, something called the 4 burners. So in life, there's basically 4 burners. James Clear is the one that popularized this. And you got to decide right now, at this moment in time, what is most important to you. These are like burners on a stove. So if you imagine this stove, and you got 4 different burners, you can turn up the heat on each one. But they all can't be burning high at the same time. Those 4 burners are health, family, friends, and work. And you cannot be good at all 4 at the same time. In fact, to be really good, you can only be good at 2 of them at once. The other 2 have to suffer. To be okay at 3 of them, you can be okay at 3 of them and 1 suffers. But it's impossible to have all 4 burning at maximum strength at the same time. So you have to decide, where are you in your life right now? Are you willing to put in the work? Are you at a point where you can do this with your relationships and they're going to understand, instead of watching Netflix some nights, you're going to be talking to China at 10 o'clock in the night because of the time difference. These are things that you got to get a grasp around, and it's going to make a difference whether you succeed or not. You've got to be able to adapt and pivot quickly. If you can't adapt and pivot quickly, then you're going to lose your edge. That's what makes this business great for people like us, is because we're not a big corporation. We don't have to go through all these channels of command to get sign off on something. You can make a decision and go with it. And that decision it may come back to you, but decisions are like hats. You try one on, it doesn't work, doesn't look good, you try another one on. So don't worry about that. These are not tattoos, which are permanent. When you make a decision, there are decisions that are tattoo-like decisions, but in most decisions you'll be making in your Amazon business are more like hats and not like tattoos that are more permanent. So that's something that you got to have the right mindset around. Execution is critical. So many people, they just never start. They just never do it. You've got to stay on top of things. This is something where, especially in the beginning, you've got to be on top of everything. Because if something happens with your listing on Amazon, it could cost you everything. Your listing, Amazon suspends it for some reason that you didn't even know. You didn't do anything wrong. It just, something happened. You accidentally put a word in your listing that you didn't know, that you couldn't use the word sanitizer in your listing without having a certain type of approval, for example. You got to act on that quickly, because one, if you're already selling a lot, it could cost you a lot of money because you're going to be down and nobody can find you. It's going to cost you in the rankings because other people are going to basically take your place. And then when you come back, it's going to be harder to get back. Or it's, if you're starting to launch, it's going to derail everything. If you're just getting going, it's going to derail you and put you back to the starting gate again. So you got to stay on top of everything. Now, this business does require money. It depends on what your goals are. If you're just trying to make a little extra money to take a nice vacation or pay off some bills and have a little side hustle, you can do this with less. Or if you're in a third world country, you don't live in the Western world, where the $500 or $1,000 a month can change your life, you can start with a little bit less. But if you're in the Western world, in Europe or Japan, Australia, US, Canada, and so on, $1,000 is probably not going to change your life. So if you're looking for life-changing money, you're going to need to come into this with a little bit of money. Can you start with $500 or $1,000? Absolutely. But it's going to be a really slow grind. It's going to really limit your options on what you can do. And it's super competitive because there's a lot of people down there that are starting with that. But if you've got 5, 10, 20 grand, that gives you a much better chance. The higher the number, the better. That doesn't mean you need to use all that money. So if you got 100 grand sitting away in your savings that you're willing to risk and lose, and this is willing to risk and lose. Don't mortgage your house to do this. But this is money that you realize that if this doesn't work out, it's not going to change my life if I lose this money. That's the type of money that you're going to need. And the more you have of that, the better. Like I said in the last module, don't quit your day job yet. If you're working another job, don't quit that. To do this unless you've got massive experience in e-commerce already, or already have a massive team and you're in this course just trying to learn some of the fundamentals and basics of Amazon. You already know how to do D2C, or you already been doing Shopify for a long time. Don't quit your day job, and don't expect to for quite some time. I know someone that still has their day job 4 years later, and they're doing $5 million a year on Amazon. One, they have it for the health insurance for them and their wife and their family. And then two, they're taking everything they're doing, and they're making enough money in their day job that they're taking all the profits from their Amazon business, rolling them back over and growing the business, and they're about to sell this thing. And they did the math on paper. They like, if I do it this way, I can come out something like $7 million ahead in 10 years versus if I quit my job and just worked on this full time and had to take money out of the business. There's going to be setbacks. That's inevitable in this business. You're going to have failures. You're going to have products that don't work. You're going to have someone that messes around. This business attracts a lot of nefarious characters. So you're going to have someone that messes around with your photos. Or you're going to have, something's going to happen. You're going to put up a listing and it's going to be taken down by Amazon for some reason that you don't even understand. You're going to get frustrated and want to pull your hair out trying to talk with Amazon seller support, which is not always very good. Not because Amazon doesn't want it to be. It's because it's just so big and wieldy. It's just a massive machine. And so it's difficult to get good support sometimes. So you're going to be like just going round and round in circles. But that's all part of the game. In fact, during the COVID, I lost over $1 million. Me and my partners lost over $1 million selling on Amazon. We launched some products COVID-based. We did everything right. And we know what we're doing. We know exactly what we're doing. We did everything right. And we still ended up losing over $1 million because of things of Amazon's algorithm and things, the way the system works that just kept knocking us down. But that doesn't mean it's not a great opportunity. We're back doing it again. And I still do it. I still think it's the best opportunity. That's just part of business. Some things work, some things don't work. Remember, not everyone is going to like you in this business. Some people may. One of the things that's normal in this business is people don't really tell their products. So if you ask somebody on the street, "Oh, you selling on Amazon? What do you sell?" They're probably not going to tell you, "I sell garlic presses and ab rollers." They're going to probably say, "Well, I'm in the kitchen category," or "I'm in some other category." And that's because most of them are afraid you're going to steal their idea. And to me, if you're afraid that someone's going to steal your idea, then unless you're a public figure, then you haven't done a good enough job. If you're not willing to, if I'm at a conference and I'm not a public figure, I'm not someone like me that speaks, where if I send my product, someone might go try to mess with me because I'm a public figure. If it's just some random friend, and you're not willing to tell them what you do, then you haven't created enough of a moat around your products. So that is important to understand. Another thing is that despite how much money you have right now, to start with, you're probably going to need access to additional money. So that means you either have to have good credit and you'll be able to get some loans. You got some money that you can use on a credit card. You've got a rich uncle. You got access somewhere to some other funding. Because if you're successful, you're going to need money to grow this business. Another thing that's really important is you want to be able to delegate. So in the beginning, you're probably going to be doing a lot of things yourself, and you should be doing a lot of things yourself and just learning the basics. But you're going to reach a point where you need to delegate. But you don't want to delegate too soon either. But thinking that you're the only person that can do it right is not always the best solution. Learn enough to know what you know and know what you need done, and then hire someone and let them do it and then get out of their way. That may be a customer service person, that may be an accounting person, that may be someone that's going to help you with the warehouse. But in the beginning, you might be wearing all the hats. You're the guy selling it, shipping it into Amazon. You're the guy in the warehouse. You're the guy doing the accounting. You're doing everything. But at some point, you guys start delegating that out. So don't hold on to things too long. The number one thing you probably want to hold on to are those two fundamental things that I said are key to success in the last module, and that's the marketing and the product selection. You should probably be involved at some high degree or all the way on those two items as long as you keep running your business, because they're just too important. Another thing is, remember, start small, but think big. So start small, but have big aspirations, like have goals, set goals of like, okay, my goal is I want to make $80,000 a year off of this business. I want to grow it to $2 million in sales. I want to sell it in 3 years for $1 million, whatever it is, have those goals. And I'm going to walk you through some spreadsheets later that are going to show you, and they should be in the download section here where you can download those spreadsheets and it'll help you picture those goals. So instead of you just pulling random stuff out of thin air, I'm going to show you how to actually get some concrete ideas by using these spreadsheets. It'll really, really help you. So another thing that you want to do is you want to join Amazon-oriented communities. There's a lot of them out there. There's a Facebook group for Helium 10 that's great to join. Helium 10 also has a forum where you can actually join. There should be a button somewhere when you log into Helium 10 it says forum, where you can go in there and interact with other people, ask questions. There's WhatsApp groups that are pretty active, and they're sharing different ideas. So try to get in a few of those and just be a fly on the wall, or when you have the occasional question, participate when you can. There's lots of conventions in this space as well. People do conventions everywhere, all over the world. A lot of them are in the United States. Some of them are free. Some of them cost a few $100 to go to. Some of them cost thousands of dollars to go to. But those conventions can be great places to meet other people. Sometimes the content of those conventions is good, but a lot of it, to be honest, you can get online. And you don't have to pay to go to these conventions to get that content unless it's high level. Like my event, $1 Billion Seller Summit, you pay because it's super high level. You're not going to get that online. But a lot of them, they're pretty basic. But the advantage is networking. You're around other people, because once you get into this business, you're going to want to talk about it. It's just natural. You talk about what you're doing for a living. But if you're talking to your wife or your spouse or your partner or your family, they just look at you like, what the heck are you talking about? ASINs and this and that. And they don't get it. But other people that are doing a similar thing to you, they get it. They get you. And it's your tribe. It's your people. And a lot of times those connections can be super valuable. So even if you're shy, even if you're like, I can't afford to travel, I got a baby, find a way to get to 1 or 2 a year. Maybe at some point you'll join Helium 10 Elite and come to one of the quarterly meetings that they do. It's free if you're a Helium 10 Elite member. Or if you can get out to one of these shows, there's a site called amzsummits.com that actually keeps a pretty updated list of all these shows where you can see what's happening in your neck of the woods. And they do it worldwide. They're in Australia, they're in Europe. But get out to those things, because just being around other like-minded people can make a huge difference, and the connections you make will come in. They may not help you today, but maybe 6 months from now you got an issue, like, oh, I know exactly who to call, or I know who knows who to call that knows who to call. It's super, super valuable. Expect to reinvest your earnings for a while. So like I said, you're not going to take a lot of money out. You're probably going to be, whatever profit you're making in the beginning, you might be able to take a little bit out if you're using the profit first method, but a lot of it you're going to be actually reinvesting and reinvesting and reinvesting. So don't expect to make a living off of this and support yourself for some time. always try to focus on what you're best at. Like I said earlier, delegate what you're not good at. So focus what you're best at, what you really enjoy doing, and that's going to help you. Be prepared, like I said, for competition's going to attack you. Things are going to happen. So you're going to be, this happens all the time where you get into this, you're like, okay, I got the perfect product. I just used Helium-10 X-ray. I found this awesome opportunity. I found the factory. I can get it at a good price. The margins look really good. And then it takes you 3, 4, 5 months to get this product from the factory, developed and the design and everything and onto the market. And when you come onto the market, all of a sudden there's 26 other people doing the same thing. And you're like, where'd these people all come from? And you're like, Jesus Christ, this ain't good. That kind of stuff happens. Be prepared for it. And we're going to show you some things here in the Freedom Ticket of how you can cut some of those people off and have an advantage over them. But that kind of stuff, be prepared. That kind of stuff happens. Dealing with customers sometimes can be, you got to check your ego sometimes at the door. Sometimes you have a great product and some idiot will write a review that just, obviously he didn't read the instructions. Obviously he maybe not even used the product. It's going to drive you batty sometimes. And sometimes, I've started to write an email back to a customer and I've had to stop myself. My buddy Norm has I think it's a 30-second rule. He writes an email and he waits 30 seconds before he sends it so he can calm down if it's something that he shouldn't say. But that's going to happen. Customers, you're going to have idiot customers. You're going to have people that are problems. That's just part of it. Don't take it personal. It's just part of this game. Amazon is constantly evolving. The way you do things, the way you advertise, the way you create a product listing, the way you find keywords, the way you optimize for AI, the way you do everything on Amazon is constantly changing. This course is going to give you the core that pretty much doesn't change. But then there's all these things you're going to have to stay on top of. So sign up for newsletters like my $1 Billion Sellers newsletter, billiondollarsellers.com. Or sign up for, make sure you get the Helium-10 newsletter. Make sure you listen to podcasts like Bradley Sutton's Serious Sellers podcast or my podcast, AM/PM podcast, or some of the other podcasts that are out there so you can stay in touch with what's going on. There's also sometimes people do free like events online where you go and you can actually listen to other people speak on like through Zoom calls and stuff. Try to do as much of that as possible. But the thing that you have to keep in mind is Amazon is constantly evolving. The rules are constantly changing. It's a shifting target, and that's just part of the game. So what works right now might not work 2 years from now. Or you may have to adapt. Amazon changes the way you ship in things, or they start charging you for something they didn't used to charge you for. These things happen, so the best thing is to be prepared for them. Another thing is this is a financial risk. So when you're doing this business, there are financial risks. So don't risk any money that you're not willing to lose. So don't go out and mortgage your house and say, I'm all in. I know this is going to work. I know I have the best product. Don't be that guy. You risk the money that you can afford to lose, that if something bad happens, it's not going to change your life. Maybe you got to pay off. You borrowed some money from an uncle and it didn't work out and you got to have to pay him for the next couple years, but he'll be cool. Hopefully he's cool. And I got to come break your legs and he'll say, okay, just pay me $100 a month till it's paid off or something. But don't do anything that's crazy. Once you get to the point, you can use virtual assistants or VAs is what you might hear people call them. Typically, these are people in Pakistan or the Philippines or India, or there's a few other countries too, but that's where the vast majority of them, and they will work for $5 or $6, $8 an hour sometimes. And these people can be great employees and great help. So at some point, you may get to the point where you can start wanting to work with some of those. And we'll talk about that in another module. I'll bring a guest on that specializes in actually helping you find those kind of people. But in the beginning, you probably don't want to do that because you don't know what the heck you're doing. How are you going to tell them what to do if you don't know what you're doing? So in the beginning, learn what you can. And then when you're ready, reach out and get those people. You might want to outsource some of this stuff. We're going to be talking about PPC or pay-per-click advertising on Amazon, how you have to pay to play. But you don't need to know all the little inner details unless that's just your thing. And that's what you're best at. Like I said earlier, focus on what you're good at, what you enjoy. You might need to know you need to know the basics, but then you might want to job that out to an outsourcing agency. And Destiny is going to be on later talking about some PPC, and she's one of the best that's out there. She's in my Dream 100, $1 billion Dream 100. In fact, she's one of the top people in that space. So you might decide to go that route. There's tons of experts out there. Now, the fundamentals of selling on Amazon successfully are something you got to totally master. And the number one thing for success on Amazon on the fundamental side is creating a compelling listing. Your listing is basically your brochure. That's the page. When someone types in dog bowl and they click on a picture of your dog bowl and they go to the page on Amazon where they see the pictures of your dog bowl, the little description, how much it cost, that's called a listing on Amazon. And that's basically your brochure. Unfortunately, on Amazon, you're limited in how pretty you can make that brochure. There's certain things you can do to really make it stand out, but it's not 100% free flow, do whatever you want like you could on your own website. So there are some limitations that Amazon has a system you got to kind of fit in their little box, but there's some cool things you can do. And we'll be talking about that a little bit later as well. Just remember that people eat with their eyes first. You always eat when you get a nice plate of food and it's sitting in front of you, you're like, what is this? This is so fancy, or a fancy restaurant. I don't even know what this is, but it damn looks good. It's got little swirls on it, little foo-foo things over here, and a little flower sticking out. You eat with your eyes first. And there's a guy, Perry Belcher, that is one of the top direct marketing copywriters out there. He says that people buy photos. They don't buy products online. They buy photos. They don't buy, you could probably extend that to videos too, but they buy what they think, what they think, not what it necessarily is. So you've got to be good on the marketing side and creating compelling listings. And there's a lot of tips and tricks to that we're going to talk about. On a listing, there's several components. There's the title, which is the words that show up. That's critical. What words you put in that title are critical. And we're going to show you how to figure that out. Another one are the images. You typically get 7 images on an Amazon listing. And then if you have what's called A+ or A++ content, which is some additional sections, you can put some additional images in. We'll talk about how to get that. Then you have bullet points. These are usually it's between 5 and 7. Some categories, they go up to 11 or more. But you can put little bullet points or short little descriptions, like people can get the basic idea of what it is. But there's little things like we'll talk about too, that you put the features there, you put benefits. Too many people will put features instead of benefits, and they mess up the way, it makes a difference in the conversions. You have a description, which matters. You have video content. You can put a video in most cases on your listing. Then you have what's called A+, which is that extended section down below. When you scroll down, you see a lot more pictures and a lot more like comparison charts and things. That's called the A+ content. And how you do all that can make a huge difference on what's called conversion rate, or how many people that actually come to your listing end up buying something. That's called the conversion rate. So if 100 people come to your listing and 20 of them end up buying something, that's a 20% conversion rate. And you want to try to get that as high as possible. And that's what we're going to show you how to do in this course. There's also some behind the scenes stuff, like people call them the back end keywords. So when you create a listing on Amazon, you go through a little admin panel and you're uploading your pictures, you're writing all your descriptions. But then there's a bunch of other little spaces where you type in additional information, like what material is it made out of, or maybe it's the misspellings of the word, or it's what's the word in Spanish, because some Spanish people are typing Spanish words, or it's called the back end keywords, or behind the scenes, or hidden keywords is what some people call them. Those are important things too. And the other thing that's becoming even more and more important today is, it used to be all about selling on Amazon is figuring out exactly which keywords that you want to target, and then taking those keywords and figuring out your competition, which ones are they doing well at, which ones are they not doing well at, and you trying to fill in the gap. That's one of the big ways that people would make money selling on Amazon, and you can still do that. But Amazon is moving towards more AI-oriented stuff. So now what they're looking at is not so much where can you fill in the gap to maximize the system, but they're looking at the overall picture of how good are your pictures on your listing. They're using AI to analyze your photos and look at the scene that the photos are in. They're looking at all the words that you've typed into all these different fields, and they're looking at your reviews. They're looking at how that compares to the competition, and they're making recommendations based on that. So you almost have to start selling to the AI now versus just maximizing keywords, and that's changing the way things work a little bit. So you got to stay on top of these things because it's going to make a huge difference in whether you pass or fail, basically. You also want to pick profitable products. Too many times I see people, they'll buy something for $5 and sell it for 10. I'm like, there's no way you're going to make money. Amazon typically takes about 60%, 55 to 60% of your selling price is you're going to lose. So what that means is you're going to lose out on Amazon's commission, which is typically in most categories about 15%. They're going to charge you fulfillment charges. That's to put in the box and to ship it out. That varies depending on the weight and the size, anywhere from $3 to $100, depending on how big your thing is. You're also going to charge you storage fees. They're going to nickel and dime you. You're going to be paying advertising costs, probably most likely to actually support your product. So once you add all those costs up, it can be 55, 60% of your selling price. That gives you only about a 40% margin. That means you need to be able to find a product that's about 20% of that. So if you're selling to make the numbers easy, $100 product, and Amazon's going to take $60 of that and all their fees, you need to be able to find a product for $20 that you can sell for $100 to have a chance to make a 20% margin. If you don't do that, your chances of success go way down, and all you're doing is making money for Amazon and not making money for yourself. You might have cash flow, money coming in and out, but you ain't making no money and you ain't going nowhere. So those are important things that so many people make a mistake on their margins, and you gotta be careful with that. Another thing is avoid emotional attachment. Sometimes people will do a product like, I know this is the best. I know my dog bowl is better because Fido likes it. I know it's the better. I just gotta figure out how to get the people to buy it, how to get them to actually try it. I know it's better, and you just stay with that product too long. You just got to cut your losses. Sometimes you got to put the kids up for adoption or kick them out of the house, and that's just part of it. So don't get too emotionally tied. Even though your product may be the better mousetrap, doesn't mean that's what the people want, or it doesn't mean you know how to market it. There's a lot of great ideas out there that you see it on Shark Tank all the time. Someone will come up with a great idea, and then the panel is like, well, how are you going to you haven't figured out how to actually market this. This is great. You just explained it to me for 15 minutes, but how am I going to know in 10 seconds that I want this or I should buy this? So that's something that's super important too. There's rules of 3 on Amazon, basically. There's Amazon fees, there's the cost of your product, and there's your profit. Those are your 3 big buckets that you got to focus on. Amazon fees, the cost of the product, and your profit. And to me, the money is typically made in the sourcing, not in the selling. The better you can source, the better it is. It's not so much about what price can I sell it. That's important, don't get me wrong. But it's more about what can I create an amazing product at a really good price that I can mark up like that 4 to 5 times that I was talking about earlier to have those margins. And if someone else, a competitor comes in, I've got a little bit of moat, I got a little bit of wiggle room. So if I do have to lower the price, I can do that. Another important thing on Amazon brings a lot of traffic. You have a lot of traffic coming in, and you take advantage of that, but sometimes you need to know how to drive outside traffic. And that could be from influencers, could be running Facebook ads. Those are some important things that down the road you're going to need to know a little bit about. Another thing is keyword demand is critical. So when you're picking products, you want to pick things that actually have demand. Black Box and X-Ray and a lot of the Helium 10 tools, and even inside Amazon with Brand Analytics and Product Opportunity Explorer and a lot of the tools that are inside Amazon, they'll show you where these opportunities are and what this demand is. Another thing that's super important is your relative rank. So you don't always have to be the best seller to make money. Sometimes you can be number 4, number 5. If you look at rental cars, there's Hertz, National, Budget, all these guys. The 3rd or 4th place is still doing pretty well. So you don't have to be number 1, but what you want to look is market depth. We'll talk about that when we get into that section of the course. But you look at market depth, and if there's enough depth where you can be number 4, number 5, number 6, and there's still enough keyword demand, you can still do really, really well. So we'll show you how to actually figure out what are people searching for and where are the opportunities for you. A basic understanding of AI is critical in today's world. If you haven't messed with AI yet, it's something you need to learn. There's a lot of cool tools coming out around AI, a lot of things you can do with AI. You can't lean on AI to do everything. You still need that human touch, but AI tools can really save you a lot of time and do some really cool stuff on your product development side, on your keyword analytics side. So having a basic understanding of prompting in AI is becoming more and more important in this business. Storytelling is another thing that's important. Being able to tell stories in your images is something else that is super important. Not just throwing up pictures of here's all 4 sides, but actually telling a story, bringing people into your product, into that lifestyle. Knowing how to get reviews legally. The reviews are crucial for credibility in e-commerce. And there's ways, the number one way to get reviews is just to sell more, basically. But there are ways, if you put out a good product, people are more likely to actually commend you on it. If you put out a really bad product, they're also more likely, they're 7 times more likely actually to say something negative. So you want to avoid those negative ones and just focus on the positive ones. So make sure your product quality is top notch. You want to focus, a narrow product selection is better than a wide product selection. Pick an avatar, not a demographic. So if you pick a demographic, you're picking an age group or an ethnic group. Because if you pick an avatar, you're picking someone that is into a particular activity. They like to run on the trail around the lake with their dog, versus they're this particular age and this ethnic background. If you pick avatars, you'll have a better chance of being able to expand those products and not be in a niche and not be tightly kept to a certain profile. You got to understand your profits. You want to be aiming for 20% or more on your profit margins. Your ROI, which is your return on investment, you should be looking for 150% or more return on investment. We'll get into all that stuff later, how to figure this stuff out. You want to manage cash flow and avoid stockouts. One of the worst things you can do on Amazon is to run out of stock. If you run out for a couple of days, you're probably going to be okay. But if you under order and you're successful and it's just selling like crazy, or you don't stay on top of your stock and your supply chain, and there's delays and you run out of stock, there's another guy waiting right below you to take your place. And when you come back, Amazon says, sorry, somebody else is already in the club's full. You can get back in the waiting line. That happens. The algorithm works that way. Amazon doesn't care who they sell. They care just that they sell. So you're no different, no matter what your volume is, than the next guy. So you got to make sure you do that. Another thing is, I recommend you do this business as a 3-year plan. A 3-year plan means basically the first year you're learning. You're taking courses like this, you're launching your first product, you're figuring out how to ship things in, and then you're optimizing in the second year, and then the third year and on, you're hopefully selling the company. It's all about the people, the processes, and the systems that makes this really work for you. Now, like I said, focus on private label. That's really where I think you should focus, because you have the control and you have the maximum opportunity for profit generation. You're also building a brand, which you can hopefully sell. You're creating either new products or you're modifying existing products and making them better. That's where the opportunity is. It's all in private label. No matter whether you modify or you create a brand new product, you've got to differentiate. That differentiation is critical. You can't just be another Me Too. You see so many products that just look the same. They just have a different brand name on it, or they're slightly different. But differentiation could be unique colors or designs. It could be bundling different things together. It could be what the features are, the size of it, its actual functions. You've got to differentiate your product. I mean, one of the things that I did, one of my products were bully sticks. And bully sticks are a dog treat. And most people on Amazon were selling 30 bully sticks in a plastic bag with a label on it and selling them for $30. Well, I was like, I know I can't compete there. There's a lot of people that already have a lot of reviews. There's no way I'm going to be able to compete. What do? So what I did is I created a really high-end bully stick. It's not always just about price on Amazon. There's some things where it is about price. It's the commodities, it's all about price. But if you can differentiate, and you have good images and good video, and remember I said people buy photos and videos, they don't buy products, and you can convince them in the marketing that your product is better and they should pay more for it. That's what I did. So I took my bully sticks and I put them in a cigar box. And I did much less bully sticks, only like 5 in a cigar box instead of 30, and they're thicker and they're juicier for the dog, and they didn't have all the problems people are complaining about in the reviews, that they stink and that they stay in the couch and all these different kinds of things. So that's something that you want to differentiate. Your presentation matters. Packaging matters. You get a lot of packages. Sometimes they're just a plain ugly box or a plastic bag. Sometimes if it's just a commodity and people just need a nail file, they probably don't care. But my buddy Norm has a good example of a knife, where they sold a knife, and his client came to him and they're putting this Japanese like carving knife, a kitchen knife, and I think they were selling it for like $29.95. And what they ended up doing is they ended up changing, they did some sort of like stone brushed thing. They like changed the way the metal looks. And then they put it in this really nice like iPod type of box. Same knife, basically added about $1 or $2 in packaging cost, maybe 20 cents because they put this little like kind of like texture on the blade, and they started selling for $129. And it sold really, really well. They didn't have to sell nearly as many to make even more money. So there's lots of ways in differentiation in your packaging. Just doing basic rebranding is not the way to do it. Just sticking your logo on something else that's already out there is probably not going to be good enough. It might be good for a month or two. You might be able to make a quick little dime, but it's not the way to get long-term success. Another thing is sometimes brute force is needed in this business. Yeah, there's a guy garlic presses are a common example. If you listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff, people use a garlic press as an example of an Amazon product that goes back to like 2015. One of the original podcasts used that as an example, and it's just kind of stuck. But there's people that have done well selling little garlic presses. But in 2019, years after people were already crushing it, selling garlic presses, another guy who has a kitchen brand that spoke at one of my events decided he wanted to get into garlic presses. But he get into it. He knew that, okay, in order to get into this, it's going to take me 18 months to actually get to be the number one garlic press. And I'm going to have to lose money for 18 months doing this and that and the other. But I know that once I hit that number one spot, the tides will turn and I can make a fortune. And that's exactly what he did. So it was a long-term play. That's a brute force. I'm not saying that's what you got to do, but in some cases, that's what it takes. And now he's the number one garlic press, doing $1.3 million a year, selling a single little garlic press. It's crazy. But he had to work his way up to that and then protect it along the way. You know, private label has, like I said, the highest margins. That's where you should be. That's what we're going to be talking about in this course. So I'm super excited to show you how to get your first private label product up and launched on Amazon and give you an awesome chance to succeed with this and change your life.